Weather and Earth events in 2025 are going to be unlike anything that we've seen in recent years. The Earth's tectonic plates are about to shift and are shifting. Weather patterns are about to shift. Not to mention that water is a huge focus in 2025 based on astrological alignments and based on the fact that we are bathing in the nine universal energy in 2025. All sure signs that things are about to shift and change with unexpected events, floods, and major volcanic activity flaring up as the year progresses. Today, we're going to look closely at the map with the technique I deemed map scrying by pinpointing areas that I get pulled to strongly, along with some other specific visions and predictions for the coming weather and earth events in 2025 and beyond. This is my 2025 Earth and Weather Forecast. As odd as this may sound, the shifting of the Earth and the weather events that are happening and that are about to take place over the next few years is all a part of something much bigger, much greater, a major shift. A major shift and an ascension that is happening for humanity and all of Earth's creatures. Events that have been well prophesized and predicted by the indigenous native elders for many, many generations now. We were warned that we needed to respect Mother Earth, or there would be consequences. Well, friends, those consequences are now on our doorsteps. We just stepped into this window of time. This window of time that Spirit warned me about first back in 2016 in meditation, 2025 to 2032. So what exactly does that mean? Well, it means a lot, friends. It means a whole lot. It would actually take me several different topic videos just to cover that window of time because there's just so much that's going to happen. So much in that window of time. At the same time, I feel very strongly that a larger part of this window of time and events that will certainly happen are going to be related, of course, to weather events. Weather events and shifts in the Earth's plates. 2025 is only just the beginning, friends. It is just the kickoff of this 7 years of complete ascension of humanity and Mother Earth. Perhaps, of course, accompanied with many tribulations along the way. As the Earth shifts, it's going to shift absolutely everything around us, friends, and even things within us. It's going to shift the way we think. It's going to shift our DNA. It's even going to shift the chromosomes within our DNA. The maps of our planet that we're currently used to looking at are going to completely change and shift. New land masses are going to rise, while other land masses are going to fall into the waters. This process affects everyone and everything in the long run and even in the short run. This is a wonderful process. I know it may not sound it, but it is a wonderful process that absolutely needs to happen. It happens in different windows, every 3,200 years. But there's an even bigger shift that's happening, friends, the biggest shift of all that's happened and last occurred over 12,000 years ago. And we're going to even shift more, I wouldn't say dramatically, but we're going to shift much differently, let's say that way. Because our shift isn't just the Earth shifting. Again, it's an ascension. It is shifting us into different dimensions, into the different dimensional fields and interdimensional beings. But that's a whole nother video in itself. This is also why, again, Spirit has been telling us for how long, even warning us to always be prepared, to never be scared. Knowing that Mother Earth is going to send in the cleaning crew. She's sending in not only the cleaning crew, she's sending in the construction crews, friends, to make some big changes to her landscaping and to her views. With that said, let's start with my feelings of what's coming in these huge events for 2025 into 2026. If we look back at my past weather prediction video from about 7 months ago, we'll see that many of these predictions are flowing into reality right now. While there are, of course, still some that have not yet come into fruition that we await for their arrival, and of course, There's always those predictions that may not come into fruition at all, or that may take a few years before they actually do play out. So always keep that in mind. When we're actually aware of these potential events and areas where these are likely to occur, it actually brings in this new level of awareness that can actually help, believe it or not, lessen the shock factor of these events when they do occur. If we look back at my past weather prediction video that I did about 7 months ago, July 2024 to be exact, we actually now see many of those predictions flowing into reality as we stepped into 2025. Well, of course, there are many others that we still await for the arrival of, and there can always be some predictions that do not come into reality. Many, I hope, don't come into reality. Then there's the few that do take many years to play out, so always keep that in mind. Also, when we are aware of these potential events in areas where they're likely to occur in the future, it actually brings in this new level of awareness that can actually help lessen the shock factor of these events when they actually do come into fruition. Now let's take a look at my recent map scrying session. I did two over 2 days over the weekend, 2 short sessions that I edited together in this next piece. For those that are unfamiliar with map scrying is a term in which I deemed where I basically go into my meditative state, connected with spirit, gaze at the map like you would gaze into a crystal ball, and go with what jumps out in my mind. A technique, if you've been following me long enough, that we have found to be extremely accurate, actually. And after the map scrying, I have a list of other visions and predictions that I wish to share with you. So let's first jump on to this map scrying session. Check it out. I have gotten into my zone, and here we have Google Earth, as you already probably guessed. And the first place I want to look at and zoom into is a place of great importance. Great importance because if you recall, in my past weather prediction video from July of 2024, I pointed to this area of the globe right here, right next to Athens, Greece, and pointed even directly to Greece to this area right here. And as you already know, since the 2025 year kicked in, there's been hundreds of earthquakes right here in this circled area right here, including evacuations of the island. I haven't looked at it in the past couple days, but I'm sure it's extremely still active. And this whole area, the Mediterranean Sea, was an area last year that I was very, very strongly pulled to. And I'm still extremely pulled to that. And it makes more sense, again, pointing to that area and, the expectations of a huge volcanic blast that's going to take place. And I have no doubt that there's going to be a major volcanic blast, multiple actually, 2 going off just within this window of what you're looking at on the screen on the map. I don't know where all the volcanoes are. Obviously, there's one right in here because it's where all the activity is and the evacuation was. I was also pulled over here, which I still am. But really, I go along this whole line right deep below the Mediterranean Sea, stretching all the way from this point, we'll say from Jerusalem, all the way over to this point of Tunis. But really, Tunisia, I feel is going to shake in this whole bottom coastline right here. Feels like it's literally almost becoming unstable. Perhaps even in the next decade or so, we may see some of this even collapse into the water, making the Mediterranean Sea even a little bit bigger. Cyprus just jumped out at me. And going back to past predictions and feelings, I had feelings and had visions of a shaking coming to Cairo. And even a small shaking, nothing huge, but a small shaking coming to Israel. We haven't seen that play out yet. The shaking for Cairo felt quite a bit bigger. And that makes, again, even more sense, being Cairo's not very far off from where all this activity is happening, right off the coast of Athens, Greece. Interesting that I was pulled to that area and what's happening there now. And it's going to become even more intense. I feel major earthquakes that are going to hit down here along the edge again throughout Libya. All kinds of earthquakes in Libya. Again, over towards Cairo and then over here in Tunisia. Now, over here towards Italy, the very boot, I feel like this little area right here. This little area just feels flared up. And it's almost actually like that whole what's ever going on beneath the earth over here starts over here and then again stretches down in that deep water area all the way over towards Cyprus. I also feel that Istanbul and this whole area right here, lots of shakings coming here. And when that major volcanic eruption happens, one's going to be way much bigger than the other. There's going to be two coming in the near future. The bigger one's going to cause flight and travel delays. It's going to cause grounded airplanes. And it's also going to cause quite a mess for wherever the direction of the winds are blowing and all that ash ends up landing. It's going to be quite a problem. A lot of activity happening here. It's only just beginning, says Spirit, in this area in 2025. Over the next few years, it's just going to become more intense because something major goes on right there underneath the Mediterranean Sea. And then I also get pulled over here towards the Black Sea. It's all connected. Istanbul's kind of like blocking the little area there. But yeah, this whole area in here get pulled there very, very strongly when it comes to specifically earthquakes. Earthquakes. I do also see when we come over here. Oh, it's not agreeing with me. When I come back over here towards France, I feel big storms that are coming across this area right here. That is going to cause more flooding, and we saw that flooding that happened in Spain last year. I see more flooding coming to this area, and even up here towards Florence, Italy. Even Rome. Just lots of flooding. We're going to see a lot of water all the way down in this area. When I see Paris on the map and Paris jumps out at me, I actually see fire. Flames. Flames. I don't know what's happening in Paris. We could take this two ways. First, of course, that there's going to be some kind of major fires and wildfires in and around Paris. Also, I would take that as maybe major heat that's coming up. Major heat. And even our friends up here in Ireland. Why is this not moving? There you go. Now, I was pulled to Dublin before with major floods. This whole area, the map's just going to become extremely, the whole world, really. We're going to see storms on like nothing before. Floods like nothing before. Floods over here in Manchester. Again, floods that are going to come to Dublin. A lot of this, we'll start seeing these floods coming in, again, March, the month of March. But also odd summer storms that whip up from the extreme heat that is going to bring major storms. And of course, a hurricane season unlike anything we've seen in quite some time. You think hurricane season was challenging last year? Hold on tight for this year. All right, moving over here to this area of the globe. We also just saw a lot of earthquake activity in the Caribbean Sea. It's another area that I have warned in the past and had feelings of big shifts. Now, this whole area is going to shift over the next decade, just like many of the land masses across the globe. As I've been seeing, and as we've heard in prophecies, and many prophecies talk about changes in landmass. This would be one of those areas. We just saw, just beneath the Cayman Islands here, a big, giant, significant earthquake that hit. This whole area, I feel like big activity right along that same dark line right there, that deep water. There's something going on underneath there, friends. Something very strong going on there. I see big earthquakes hitting over here in Belize, between Belize and Honduras, right in that little area, which would also bring Guatemala into it. So I feel like something's happening right here at the end of this line of blue. And then even Cuba, Jamaica, and Haiti. All this is going to be feeling activity over the next, the remainder of 2025. I also feel that there's another big earthquake like we saw with Haiti back in the day, happening somewhere here in the Caribbean area as well. I'm not pulled so far down here as I am up in this area. Again, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti. And even the Turks and over here, these islands pulled there as well. Very strongly pulled there. Now let's just pop down here towards Texas for a minute. Just in the past days of me recording this, there was just a significant earthquake that just happened here, right on the in Texas, right below the border of Mexico, New Mexico, excuse me. This is active all the way down into the Gulf. Almost feels like there's a line running right up in here underneath the earth of activity or vibrations that are happening, which tells us that there can be expected earthquakes, not huge earthquakes, but in the area of San Antonio, Texas, all the way up into New Mexico. And even feeling some shakings down here in Houston. More than anything, I see some big storms that are going to be whipping up in the Gulf of Mexico coming in over the season, especially hurricane season. I see something really big whipping up right and swinging right in here towards Houston. Almost like right in between Houston and San Antonio. That would be an area that I would definitely want to warn come hurricane season. And as we get closer to hurricane season, of course, I'll do another video on the hurricanes. Puerto Rico just jumped out at me. Something's definitely going on around Puerto Rico. And their infrastructure is already very fragile, to say the least, especially when it comes to their power grid. And I see a lot of problems happening with Puerto Rico and their power grid coming up this year. Likely is going to be related to hurricanes and weather events that are going to be taking place. Lots of huge activity. Venezuela just popped out here at me. Let's go down to Venezuela. Big earthquake. Big shaker in Venezuela. Very large earthquake. Turkey, the country Turkey, that just popped them. Not that it's on the map right here, but Turkey. Turkey's another one where I feel that there's another major quake coming to that area of the globe within the coming year, between now and this time in 2026. So, definitely can bring about major storms and so forth. Down here, I see stormy weather here down in this part of the globe. Right here. Pulled to this part. And this Brazil right here. Sao Paulo. Rio de Janeiro. Lots of flooding. Rescues happening along this area of the globe. Remember, that's the other thing. Astrologically and other things that are happening with that 9 vibration in astrology. A lot of water representation. Which is going to bring lots of different flood events. All throughout South America, which I would expect to be coming really soon, especially in the time period of March and April. And then Spirit just said the late summer months. Don't forget the late summer months. I most feel like there's a crack forming underneath. From here, straight on down. Which would make me feel like there's an earthquake that's going to happen right along this line here. Between Chile, all the way over here towards Argentina. I just saw like fire and smoke over here in this area. Volcanic. I don't know where all the volcanoes are, but some type of volcanic eruption over here. In Peru. I hope not when I'm going to Peru this year. I hope not then. I see fire. Lots of fires up here in this area. Between Ecuador and Colombia. Wildfires. Followed by areas that are going to become flooded with severe floods. which is something I said for our friends over here in California. Where are we at, California? Get on down here. With the wildfires. On my Tuesday show, I said to beware that they're going to make storms and push them right into the LA area, right where all those fires were, causing floods. And we see that happening now. In California, Mother Nature, and I'm sure the global elite aren't through with you yet. San Francisco's been jumping out at me for a while. I've had visions of the bridge swinging back and forth and being temporarily closed. That hasn't happened. I've been getting that feeling for over a year now, so I would expect that that'd be something we'd be seeing within the next year, year and a half at the most. There's LA. Just more fire. I just see more fire, more fire. I see fires down here in the Baja area of California. And even fires that happen right up here outside of San Diego. There is activity happening here off the coast as well. As far as earthquake activity, nothing major, but definitely something we'll be seeing right in here. Santa Barbara jumps out at me. I'm not sure why. Santa Barbara. I don't know if that's related to nearby wildfires near Santa Barbara, California, but also some type of flooding type of event. Areas of the globe to watch, friends. You know, it doesn't really matter now at this point, especially over this window of time that Spirit showed us, 2025 to 2032. Anywhere along the coast is going to be extremely risky when it comes to flooding and even tsunami events that are coming in the near future. Again, the astrology, everything aligns this year. The number, the 9 vibration, the water vibration, that this year would be a year that we would definitely be seeing some type of a tsunami event taking place. And my first thought with that, shrink this back down, was the area of the Philippines. So let's jump on over there for a minute. Our friends in Japan, we'll go back to you in a moment. All in this Philippine Sea. Where there's islands at? Hold on, where are we at here? There we go. We talked about this line here before, running into Tokyo. And my feeling of seeing things shaking in the area of Tokyo and also right above Tokyo. Let's go up closer to Japan for a second. I was very much pulled into this space right in the middle right here. So I feel like activity happening here with earthquakes along that line, but also volcanic activity that's happening down here at this part of Japan. And then even at the very, very top up here, I see activity. South Korea, I feel like, is in for a series of events. A series of first typhoon weather type events that cause flooding and major power outages. Perhaps even connected to partially the earthquake activity that's going to be happening over here and near the Sea of Japan. This area up towards South Korea, I feel like there's a lot of cyclones or typhoons or whatever they call them over here on this part of the globe, causing a lot of flooding in this area and a lot of problems. And I feel like South Korea is getting hit with one thing after another. Likely dealing with earthquake activity, but also major power outages and things related to these storms that are going to be coming into this area of the globe. I see a significant quake hitting again for Taiwan. One significant enough to cause damage to parts of buildings and structures and so forth. I'm pulled towards the lower part, right where the word Taiwan is, right in that area. I'm looking at something that is a big shaker, like 7.1, maybe even higher than that. Again, July. Activity here is going to flare up in March. towards the mid-March into April. Especially look for the times near the full moons, of course, always. And then also July. And July is when I feel like this activity is coming in up here and flaring up. And there was a point, again, in past map scrying and visions where I felt something big was happening beneath the sea here. A little bit lower, right around here, in this big blue area. And that, to me, would be likely what would end up causing the tsunami that would be heading towards the Philippines. Even, parts of it hitting Taiwan and Japan, but it would be much smaller by the time it hit those areas. But still being significant. We can end up actually seeing, again, based on numbers, my intuition and such, the largest tsunami event that we have yet to have witnessed on this planet. And we know what happened the last one. They made movies after the last one. They'll probably make movies after the next one, too. All right, this is my second scrying session. February 16th is my recording. The first part that you just watched was from yesterday, February 15th, Saturday. I want to go to this area of the globe right here, actually, because right in this area, going back to volcanic activity, earthquake activity, and I've seen this in visions in the past, but I feel something really big movement happening in this part of the Indian Ocean over the next few years. Not necessarily at all in 2025. This, I believe, is going to end up bringing tsunami waves and such to this part of the globe. I think that'll more happen, or feel that that's more going to happen when we get closer to 2030. But we are in that window of time, 2025 to 2032, so it can be any time in this 7-year window of time that we just stepped into. I also feel volcanic activity over here near Thailand. And I'm not, again, familiar at all with where all the volcanoes are located, but I am pulled to this area, so I would definitely easy guess that there's some kind of volcanoes in this area of the globe. I feel like that's going to blow. In turn, I feel like so much major activity is going to happen in this whole area of the globe. All the way from over here in the Indian Ocean, all the way over here to the Philippine Sea. Again, the Philippines being very vulnerable to events, but even more so down here at the lower part, right below Indonesia. I see a big volcanic eruption that's going to occur in this area right here, this little circle. That will also cause major issues with where the ash blows, along with airline cancellations, delays, and grounded aircraft. Now down here below to our friends in Australia, I feel major activity again, all below Indonesia. And this strip that goes across, let me zoom in a little bit more. This whole strip up here, Papua New Guinea. And I've had visions going back a decade ago of like islands literally sinking in the ocean. And I do feel that this up here is going to be an area of the globe where we certainly see that begin to occur, including parts of Papua New Guinea. Not only are they going to get hit with major earthquake activity and volcanic activity, I also see something with volcanoes down here. I don't know if there are volcanoes down here, but I'm pulled to this area, and they may be underwater volcanoes, but I feel like something's going on over here that's going to affect this part of Australia between Queensland and Brisbane. Expect there to be big earthquakes all along, again, these coastlines, all across the top of northern Australia, and all the way down here to the side. Remember, also, I've saw shakings happening in Sydney, Australia, along with major flooding. It was just recently I was pulled to this top part and warned our friends in Australia major flooding, which did play out just within a week after I was pulled to that area. I still feel that area is vulnerable to flooding, and so are all the coastlines from here all the way down to the bottom here. I see big storms coming in from this area here to this part of Australia. That also causes, like, almost like, I don't know what they call them there. We call them hurricanes here, typhoons, cyclones, but something along that area breezing right through Australia, causing all kinds of issues. And when we even go down further, I'm pulled to Tasmania. Not sure why, but I'm very strongly pulled to there, which is close enough to Victoria and Melbourne. And I don't know if this is earthquake related, which it very well may be. Earthquake of significant size hitting Tasmania. But also, again, big storms whipping in this area. I feel that there's going to be another big blow that happens. And I do mean huge blow. Volcanic and earthquake related along the Tonga. We're going to hear that Spirit told us not long ago that the Tonga would activate once again, sounding echo sounds across the oceans. That and all over here in Fiji, Mount Fiji, and the eruption of Mount Fiji that's bigger than normal, says Spirits, will be a sign of what's activating in the Tonga that will be again heard and unleashed across the lands. In turn, this big rift that's happening right in here, this can in turn eventually bring some type of major waves, and not necessarily massive tsunami waves, but big waves, big enough to hit over here in Auckland, and then also hitting up towards this part of Australia, this coast. Again, not major tsunamis, but enough to cause concerns and maybe even cause some type of casualties of some sort. Hawaii. 3 volcanoes will blast all at once, says the Spirits. Another part of the globe I want to go to. I want to go back to the United States. Hello, why are you not moving, map? Now, earlier on yesterday's piece, I was pulled to this area of California and such. But I feel like that activity is running all along the coastline, all the way down to Costa Rica. Big activities happening. And besides the Philippines and that area being the areas most vulnerable for coming tsunamis, I would also say down this part of the globe here, because I feel there is big activities happening between Guatemala and Costa Rica. Big activities that are happening in there with the earth plates and with volcanic eruptions. Again, we're going to see so many eruptions that are going to be just, again, not common, very unusual. And even unactive volcanoes becoming active. I even have a vision of seeing a crack and just looking into the crack that's formed in the earth in the hot magma or lava that's flowing up and out of it. I'm not sure where that's occurring. But this is also going to be part of the causes of some of the wildfires that we see in the future, according to Spirit. When there's cracks in the earth and there's lava and magma and all that seeps out causing these fires, especially in around this area of Montana. Fires right around the area, of course, Yellowstone National Park. Now, I was also pulled to the map earlier today. I was looking at something on the map, and I was pulled very strongly up towards Maine. And it felt to me, and I know Maine got hit in 2024 with some big storms and such, but I feel like something really big, likely hurricane related, is sweeping in right here, likely bringing flooding to a combination of New York, Rhode Island, but especially Maine. Like it hits right in there, going right up towards this part of Quebec. Major flooding, disastrous type storm. Major power outages, more than at least 500,000 people will be without power, maybe even more. That would be just in Maine alone. Again, I feel like this would have to be hurricane related, or quite close enough to a hurricane related. And it feels to me like the direction's off, kind of like they're telling us it's going this way, but really it's sweeping right up in It's like blowing right towards the coast. Reminds me of Hurricane Sandy, where they told us Hurricane Sandy wasn't going, it's going to ride the coast. And I remember going on social media and warning my friends in New Jersey to get out. It's going to swing right into the state. And people were like, it can't take that much of a turn, and it sure did. That's another story of how that could occur. But yes, and this hurricane season this year is going to be crazier than ever. Biggest hurricanes reported. We're also going to see a changing in the way they report hurricanes. I see something happening here right in the center of the Gulf. I don't know sure what that is, but just right here where it says Gulf of America, I'm pulled to this real center here. So I'm not sure if what's happening beneath the Gulf right there. Maybe some type of activity, earth activity, maybe even an earthquake that hits right here in the center of the Gulf of America, they say. It's the Gulf. Oh, it says Gulf of America. Oh, how about that? They changed it on the map. I did not even realize that, friends. It's the Gulf of Mexico. To me, it's the Gulf. Gulf of America. I can't believe they changed it. That's pretty funny. Pretty funny. I have a vision in New Orleans, and I see flooded streets in New Orleans. I see people walking with the water past their knees through the French Quarter of New Orleans. So our friends in New Orleans and Louisiana, be prepared for some stormy weather and some severe flooding. I also get this feeling that some coastlines are going to be lost from, we could say rising waters, but I don't feel like it's necessarily rising waters as it is storms that eat away at coastlines. So much that they're irreplaceable. I feel earthquake activities activating between this part of New Mexico from the edge. Now, we just had that earthquake that occurred right here a few days ago, 5.0. It was a shaker. But I'm pulled more closer to Albuquerque. Some activity happening around there. And then something really big happening right here in Oklahoma. Let me zoom in on that. This map is not loading very well. Well, you got the point. That area there. And remember, again, tune in every Tuesday because we look at what's going on in the world and come up with all kinds of other information and predictions. Big activities between this little peninsula right here off the Gulf of Alaska all the way down to Seattle, Washington. Actually, even further down, says the spirits. A little bit further down towards this part of Oregon, probably towards Portland, Oregon. And I've been pulled to this area before, and even in one of my weather videos, I talked about big earthquakes hitting here, which they did have. But I feel like it's a little bit further off the coastline here, almost like this little line right here. And almost looks like it's connected to this line. It goes all the way up here. And I feel like big activity, huge volcanic activity that's going to happen in the waters right off the coast over here. So there's volcanic activity in here under the water. And then I have a vision of a big blast blasting out of the ocean's waters from the surface. I see smoke, steam, very interesting vision. So you see that happening. That will be a warning system for earthquakes that are going to happen all along the West Coast. So Spirit says, watch them underwater volcanic eruptions off the coast between this area I just talked about. Basically from up here towards the peninsula of Alaska, but all the way down. And especially right here where this line is, this zigzag line. It's kind of interesting. Very interesting, to say the least. Iceland. Iceland, I see a big blow up here in this part of Iceland, between Iceland and Greenland. A newer volcanic eruption. Not one that we would be necessarily expecting to see. And then up here in China is going to get hit hard, as Spirit's been telling us for some time now. All the way up towards Mongolia, massive earthquakes up in this area. And even in Beijing, China, they're going to have quite a bit of issues with earthquakes and even severe flooding. The whole continent of Asia, all up in here, even up to parts of Russia. This is just going to get pounded with so much severe flooding weather. We'll even see over here in the deserts where we'll begin to see the deserts flooding once again. Near Saudi Arabia, even floods that break out near Yemen. Lots of flooded deserts. We are in that window, friends. We are in that window of lots of water, earth, air, and fire. All the elements hitting hard in 2025. I'm going to leave you with that for right now. I hope that you enjoyed that map scrying session, and if you did and you are enjoying this content so far, please show some of your love and click that thumbs up love button. I appreciate you so much for doing so. Also remember, every Tuesday, tune into my Tittle Tea Time for updates on predictions and new predictions each and every week. And if you're new here and you want to vibe with this awesome tribe, be sure to smash that there subscribe, the bell and all, so that you get notifications. Moving on to some of the visions and predictions, specific visions and predictions I have revolved around the weather. Starting with first that there's going to be a whole lot of attention placed around all of the underwater volcanoes. Remember, water is a big focus this year. That includes things going on underneath the water or beneath the water. So we're going to hear a lot more attention being focused towards underwater volcanoes and their potential of eruptions. Many that which we never ever actually see or hear about, but soon we will. And here's a thought for you. What if the rising temperatures, just think about this for a second, friends. What if the rising temperatures of the ocean waters that they've been telling us about for quite some time could be potentially connected to underwater volcanic activity? Think about it. Common sense would tell us if there's lava in the ocean, the waters are bound to fluctuate in temperatures and go up in temperatures. We will likely hear about this actual concern coming in from scientists and such in the near future, talking about these underwater volcanic activity swarming our ocean's bottoms and actually heating up the water temperatures of the oceans. Moving on to the next one. Even though this is not necessarily weather related, but certainly related to warmer waters. I have a vision that looked to me like red algae. I'm guessing that's what it was. Or something red algae of some sort along different coastlines. And it appeared almost as if the water in some areas in my vision were turning blood red. But I could see something floating in it. It looked like something floating. That's why I feel like it's probably related to red algae. I also had a vision of a very large river turning completely red. And I feel like that's going to occur somewhere in the Middle East. And then another one I feel is going to occur down in South America, likely Brazil. I also see huge concerns in some countries when it comes to swimming. And we're going to hear a lot about that this season. Swimming, the bacteria that's in the water, and the bacteria that get into people's brains through the water. Especially more still waters like lakes. Still waters, basically. Lakes, ponds, things like that. And this is going to be something we're going to hear about all over the globe coming up this year and over the next few years. But it's going to be something that's going to hit hard and hit home this year, 2025. We'll probably likely see tons of beach closings, especially closings of lakes and signs being posted, no swimming, dangerous waters, and so forth. Our friends down in New Zealand have been jumping out at me, at least their country's been jumping out at me on the map as far as something coming activity-wise. I don't feel too concerned about this, but it certainly is going to flare up with volcanic activity, I believe, towards the southern part of New Zealand. Or could we even say the western part, southwest New Zealand, if that makes any sense? That's my feeling. I also feel that Turkey and Afghanistan both are going to be hit with very, very large earthquakes that bring down structures. Another huge blow is coming to the Tonga. This feels somehow, and I was pulled to that on the map too, in the map scrying, I'm pretty sure I was. But it feels somehow connected, and I wrote this before I did the map scrying. It feels connected to me to a series of events that's going to include, of course, water events. And again, I'll keep reminding you that the numerology that's in place has a lot of pointing fingers at waters in 2025. The 9 vibration also can help with that. And this is also, the whole year is being ruled by a whole lot of water. So expect floods, tsunamis, and even issues with clean water is going to become a huge focus and a huge event in many areas. Even people receiving notices on their phone to boil their water after big storms, especially. When the Tonga blows, Spirit said there'd be a sound that would echo across the ocean soon after a great wave would form. One island will vanish instantly from that wave. Thankfully, I feel like there are no people on whatever island this may end up being. Something big, actually, it feels quite huge to me, is going to shift and blow in Iceland. I feel a combination of another historic eruption, followed by a major earthquake and hundreds of small earthquakes. I saw in visions evacuations taking place in a small area of Iceland, and I had a vision of a huge crack in the earth that fills first with lava. It was actually really interesting. I saw this huge crack in the earth, and this could even move over to Greenland because I feel like I'm stuck in between the two. But I saw this huge crack. I saw the lava pouring in, and then at the other end of the crack, I saw the waters of the ocean pushing through. The two came together, and it was a steam festival like nothing I've ever seen before. I don't know if we've even seen something like that before, but we will in the near future. I also see movements and magma movement beneath the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Washington and Oregon, which I believe I was also pulled to in my map scrying. I feel this is building up pressure, and soon that pressure is going to blow outwards, sending this geyser of water, smoke, and flames from beneath the ocean. Another one of Mother Earth's spectacles and amazing shows and light shows. In turn, this is going to activate plate movement, says Spirit. That brings about a series of earthquakes along the west coast of North America all the way up to Alaska. Interesting times. For a while now, I've been feeling this big hit coming to and near Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, which again I did point to on the map scrying segment. These predictions were actually written before I did the map scrying. So I was getting pulled to this already. And I've been pulled to Oklahoma for quite some time now. And I feel like a large quake is coming to that area. Likely right next to Oklahoma City, right nearby Oklahoma City. I'm just putting that out again because I said it in the past. And the more these things pop in the mind, the closer usually we are to these events playing out. The summer heat, friends, it's like that song, the heat is on. Yeah, it's going to be on this summer. It's going to be off the charts on the heat in the coming season. Some areas, there's going to actually be closures and or cancellations of events and other things due to the extreme heat warnings. And also, of course, power outages or rolling power outages due to the extreme use of power due to the heat. Some areas, I would even advise folks they're going to, not me, but the town or people will advise folks to stay off the beaches. So you'll hear that in the media. Stay off the beaches, people. Stay off the beaches. Stay out of the sun completely. And of course, they'll tell you to use lots of that toxic sunscreen. Seems like severe heats are going to sweep up through Europe and Asia mostly. They felt like the hottest parts of the globe, besides also the Middle East, of course. And I see severe issues with heat throughout India, including fires in India somehow related to the heat, and other places as well, due to, again, severe heat. I also, and I guess dryness would have a lot to do with that too. I also feel that China is soon going to be dealing with their own worst wildfires in history. So we dealt with a lot of them here in the United States, parts of South America, Canada. But now we're going to hear about big wildfires breaking out in China. And of course, I have this weird, sinister feeling behind it, like many of the fires we've seen so far. So it's holding the light. That at least people aren't, at least, if anything burns, at least it aren't the people. And pray for the poor animals too, of course. The severe heat in the Middle Eastern countries, That's going to break all-time high records. 120 degrees Fahrenheit and higher will be recorded. The highest temperatures will also be recorded in California's Death Valley this year. And in the Middle East, the coming severe heat is going to be responsible for a continued dry up of the Euphrates River and other bodies of water too, of course. This likely will, at least eventually, not necessarily this year, but will eventually bring about my past predictions of conflicts and wars starting over water, and even an attack on a dam, which is again conflict over water. There will be big changes in the way that we currently categorize storms, earthquakes, and even tornadoes. Part of these changes will, of course, be due to storm systems and events that are going to be significantly higher than the current scales can record, or other categories or current categories. So we're going to see that in all areas, friends. We're going to see that with even the seismic activity. But there's something exciting that comes out of all of this. But we got to look at the less exciting first. Again, huge, giant tornadoes that go beyond the category that we have now, and even hurricanes going beyond that category. And we're gonna hear the word superstorm, so much more. And that's something we're gonna hear this summer during the months of July, August, superstorms. So hold on tight for that one. And if there's a superstorm heading your way, friends, batten down the hatchets, get your lifeboats ready. Take that very, very seriously. On a positive note, I see amazing new technological advancements that are going to somehow be a part of our future rating systems for rating seismic activity, storms, tornadoes, and so forth. These new technologies are going to be able to determine and predict storms long before they actually hit, tornadoes, earthquakes, and so forth. Therefore, giving time to help evacuate areas or let people know, lessening the chances of casualties in big events. There's also going to be new technologies that are going to be capable of tracking activity of the plate surfaces and much more beneath the ocean. There's so much beneath the ocean that we don't even know about, including activity that's happening with earthquakes, volcanoes, and so forth. New technologies are going to be able to track all of that. Something really actually quite positive to look forward to in the future. An interesting topic that we've talked about a lot. It's related to weather still, sorta, and some may beg to differ this, but weather and climate control. And the truths revolved around these technologies. This is a big thing that's going to be unleashed with truth even in 2025 and over the next few years, including the SAIs, if you're not familiar with that. You are, but maybe you're not. Stratospheric aerosol injections. You see it up in the skies all the time. Well, thank goodness Robert Kennedy's in place, because I feel that Bobby Kennedy's going to be pulling out some truth when it comes to this stuff in our skies. Not only that, hopefully putting a stop to it, because the heavy metals, the barium, and everything included in it is toxic and poisoning our soils and everything else. So that truth's going to come out. Now, I've showed you many times on my show patents for weather modification that goes all the way back to the 1950s. They have even patents on controlling hurricanes and everything else. And the only term you really hear the media talk about is cloud seeding. Look what happened in California last year or the year before. They cloud seeded and they had the biggest floods ever in history. Well, weather control and the ability and technological advancements, all that truth is going to be revealed. And we need it to, because in the future, years, maybe a decade or so ahead, we'll be able to shift storms and shift things that are more positive for the planet, giving our ecosystem a better environment to thrive on, while making it a much safer environment for humans and for all the creatures of Mother Earth. Again, things to look forward to in the future. I truly hope you enjoyed today's forecast and predictions for the weather, the first weather video that I'm doing for 2025. But keep in mind, especially if you're new here, weather and weather predictions come up quite often every week on Tuesday's show. And if you're new here and you want to vibe with the tribe and you just smashed that subscribe, we welcome you with open arms and air hugs. If I don't show up on your feed by Wednesday, make sure you check and make sure that you weren't mysteriously unsubscribed from the channel. And thank you to all the supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. The members of the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community, links are down below, including those that are members of whatever community you may be watching this on, and the contributors to this channel as well. And thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Couldn't do this without all your love and support, and I am forever grateful. Be sure to sign up for the free newsletter below in the description, and you can find recommended videos in the description, along with the links to my Rumble and Spotify platforms. Other than that, friends, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you, and let your light shine. And I will see you in the future. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. Much love, friends. Much love.